In 1918, a California courtroom witnessed one of the strangest scenes in legal history. The prosecution had just called Hollywood's most notorious actress to testify as an expert witness on vampire psychology. Theda Bara, known worldwide as cinema's wickedest woman, calmly explained to a jury the difference between movie monsters and real people. The defendant had claimed his wife was a literal vampire who destroyed men's souls. It was sensational, bizarre, and perfectly fitting for the woman who had accidentally created Hollywood's first publicity machine. But the most shocking part? This supposed Egyptian seductress who terrorized America's moral guardians was actually a nice Jewish girl from Ohio whose entire exotic identity was completely fake. Theda Bara entered the world on July 29, 1885, in the quiet Cincinnati suburb of Avondale. Her father, Bernard, was a Polish immigrant who worked as a tailor, while her mother, Pauline, came from Switzerland. Far from the mystical Egyptian upbringing that would later captivate millions, young Theodosia grew up in a comfortable middle-class Jewish household, devouring books and dreaming of the stage. After graduating high school in 1903, she attended the University of Cincinnati for 2 years before the theatrical bug bit too hard to ignore. In 1905, she packed her bags for New York City, dyed her blonde hair black, and joined the masses of hopefuls chasing Broadway dreams. For nearly a decade, Theodosia struggled in theater obscurity. She picked up small roles in touring companies and even tried the name Theodosia Decapit to sound more exotic and hide her Jewish background. Work was scarce and often thankless. The early 1910s favored willowy, innocent types, while Theodosia's curvaceous figure and dark features seemed hopelessly outdated. By 1914, she was pushing 30 in an industry that worshipped youth, with little to show for her theatrical ambitions except a handful of forgettable credits. Her breakthrough came through a chance encounter with director Frank Powell, who spotted something magnetic in her brief appearance in the 1914 film The Stain. Powell was preparing a new project for William Fox's fledgling studio and needed an unknown actress willing to work cheap. The film was called A Fool There Was, based on a Rudyard Kipling poem about a seductive woman who destroys a respectable family man. Powell saw potential in Theodosia's intense dark eyes and mysterious screen presence. What happened next would transform not just her career, but the entire concept of celebrity itself. Fox's publicity team immediately realized that Theodosia Goodman wouldn't sell tickets. They needed something exotic, dangerous, and utterly foreign to American sensibilities. Working with press agents Johnny Goldfrapp and Al Selig, they created one of the most elaborate fictional identities in entertainment history. Theodosia became Theda Bara, supposedly born in the shadow of the Sphinx to a French artist and his Arabian mistress. The name Theda Bara was marketed as an anagram for Arab death, though this was actually discovered after the fact and turned into promotional gold. They claimed she possessed supernatural powers learned from ancient Egyptian mystics and studied the occult arts in Paris. The publicity campaign reached absurd heights with an elaborate press conference in a New York hotel suite. The room was transformed into a dimly lit Egyptian lair, complete with tapestries, burning incense, and mysterious artifacts. When reporters arrived, Theda emerged from behind curtains dressed as a sultry priestess, delivering a seductive monologue about her desert childhood in a fabricated foreign accent. Hardened journalists saw right through the charade, but played along, enchanted by the sheer audacity of it all. When everyone left except young reporter Luella Parsons, Theda immediately dropped the act, ran to the window for fresh air, and admitted the whole thing was theatrical nonsense. When A Fool There Was premiered in early 1915, audiences got their first look at cinema's original vamp. The term vampire didn't refer to blood-sucking monsters, but to seductive women who drained men's life force through manipulation and sexual power. Theda's character destroys a happily married diplomat, leaving him financially ruined and emotionally broken while feeling zero remorse. Her famous line, "Kiss me, my fool," became an instant national catchphrase. For 1910s audiences accustomed to pure, virginal heroines, watching a woman who enjoyed dominating men and winning in the end was absolutely revolutionary. The film's success was immediate and overwhelming. Virtually overnight, Theda Bara became as recognizable as Charlie Chaplin or Mary Pickford. Fox's gamble on an unknown actress had paid off beyond imagination, literally saving the studio from bankruptcy. Young women across America began imitating her style, rimming their eyes with heavy makeup and adopting dark, mysterious fashions. The press dubbed these followers baby vamps, and moral authorities were absolutely horrified. Fox kept the mystique alive by having Theda give interviews in character, spinning elaborate tales about her mystical powers and ancient Egyptian heritage. She told reporters about feeling Cleopatra's spirit within her and claimed to possess supernatural abilities to entrance men. The media ate up every word, printing headlines like "Hell's Handmaiden" and "The Devil's Own." She posed for promotional photographs with skulls, snakes, and skeletons, visual metaphors suggesting she literally loved her victims to death. No Hollywood star had ever been promoted with such gothic theatricality. Between 1915 and 1919, Theda starred in over 40 films, playing history's most infamous seductresses from Cleopatra to Salome to Camille. Her 1917 Cleopatra caused massive controversy when she appeared in revealing costumes, including a jeweled snake bra that scandalized religious groups nationwide. Some cities banned the film entirely, while others demanded cuts of her barely clad scenes. The controversy only fueled public curiosity, making Cleopatra one of the most popular and expensive films of the era. But the fame came with serious personal costs. Many people couldn't separate Theda from her characters, treating her as a genuine threat to public morality. Restaurants refused to serve her, and a nurse once denied her husband medical treatment simply because of her reputation. Strangers would approach her on the street, either to condemn her as a homewrecker or to confess their darkest desires. When one angry woman called her a harlot in public, Theda responded with characteristic wit. "I am working for my living, my friend, and if I were the kind of woman you seem to think I am, I wouldn't have to." The murder trial testimony in 1918 perfectly captured how deeply her vamp persona had penetrated public consciousness. When Guadalupe Martinez was accused of throwing his wife Rosa from a window, his defense attorney subpoenaed Theda as an expert witness on vampire psychology. The prosecution wanted her to explain what movie vamps actually were, hoping to ridicule the defendant's claim that his wife possessed vampiric powers. Taking the stand with composed professionalism, Theda clarified that cinematic vampires were fictional characters who preyed on men's weaknesses, draining them of money and honor rather than blood. The absurd spectacle made national headlines and cemented her notoriety even further. By 1919, Theda had grown tired of being typecast as evil incarnate. She yearned to show her dramatic range and pushed Fox to let her play wholesome roles. Her attempt at reinvention came with Kathleen Mavourneen, where she portrayed a virtuous Irish peasant girl. For the first time in her career, she appeared as a modest, pure-hearted heroine without heavy makeup or seductive costumes. Early reviews were positive, and Theda was optimistic about successfully transitioning from vamp to ingenue. The backlash was swift and vicious. Irish-American groups were furious on 2 counts. They objected to the film's depiction of Irish poverty and were outraged that a Jewish actress had been cast as Ireland's beloved fictional daughter. Protesters disrupted screenings by rolling stink bombs down theater aisles and distributing pamphlets denouncing a Jewish woman as Kathleen. Theda received multiple death threats for daring to portray the character. The film became a financial disaster, and Fox quickly pulled it from many venues. The failure of Kathleen Mavourneen effectively ended Theda's reign as a major star. William Fox decided not to renew her contract when it expired in 1919, cutting loose the actress who had saved his studio. She was only 34, but in Hollywood's harsh calculus, She represented yesterday's style as American tastes shifted toward the carefree flapper era. World War I was over, the roaring 20s were beginning, and audiences wanted bright young stars like Clara Bow rather than mysterious foreign seductresses. Theda found personal happiness in her romance with director Charles Brabin, whom she'd met while filming Kathleen Mavourneen. They married in 1921, and she largely retired from acting to become a conventional Hollywood society hostess. The notorious vamp transformed into a respectable matron who threw elegant dinner parties for luminaries like Mary Pickford and George Cukor. She never learned to cook, but lived comfortably on the fortune she'd earned during her Fox years. When they eventually sold their mansion, the buyer was Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle, who insisted on preserving Theda's bedroom exactly as she decorated it. In her later years, Theda remained gracious about her legacy, while maintaining perspective on the absurdity of her former image. When I Love Lucy spoofed her 1917 Cleopatra as hopelessly outdated, she chuckled at the joke rather than taking offense. She understood that she'd always been in on the performance, playing an elaborate character rather than genuinely trying to seduce America's husbands. The vampire who had once terrorized moral authorities was actually an intelligent, well-read woman who preferred curling up with books to wild adventures. Theda Bara died of stomach cancer on April 7, 1955, at age 69. By then, the Hollywood she'd helped create had long since transformed, and many of her contemporaries were forgotten. Her funeral was modest, and her gravestone reads Theodosia Brabin, reflecting the real name and married identity of a woman who'd lived two very different lives. But her tragic legacy wasn't her death. It was the systematic destruction of her artistic achievement. In 1937, a devastating fire at Fox's New Jersey storage facility destroyed over 40,000 film reels due to the highly flammable nitrate film stock. Nearly Theda's entire filmography was reduced to ashes in a single afternoon, including masterpieces like Cleopatra and Salome. Today, only 6 of her films survive complete, with A Fool There Was being the most accessible example of her magnetic screen presence. The woman who created the template for every femme fatale and bad girl that followed became a ghostly figure known mainly through photographs and written accounts. Perhaps that's fitting for cinema's first manufactured celebrity. Theda Bara proved that audiences would embrace morally complex female characters and that skillful publicity could transform an unknown actress into a global phenomenon. She channeled society's fears and secret desires during a time of massive social change, making it acceptable for women to be powerful, sexual, and unapologetic. More than a century later, every seductive villain and empowered anti-hero owes something to the nice Jewish girl from Cincinnati who convinced the world she was a dangerous Egyptian enchantress. In an industry built on illusion, Theda Bara created the most successful illusion of all.